It's day 89, and we arrive at a ghost town ironically deafening with the sound of silence. Silence is overtaken by every nook and cranny of the town. A family quietly tiptoes barefooted through an empty store of the ghost town. The family's mother, Evelyn Abbott, carefully looks through a cluster of uncollected prescription bottles for her eldest son Marcus, who is sick. Evelyn later gives Marcus some medication and water to drown it down with and uses sign language to reassure her deaf daughter Reagan that her brother is okay and that she shouldn't worry. Reagan then goes to check on her younger brother Beau, who is sitting on the bare floor drawing a picture of a rocket on the floor. He signs out to Reagan that the rocket is how they'll get away and then proceeds to climb the most empty shelves and reaches for a space shuttle toy. But he doesn't reach, so the toy falls from the shelf, but Reagan scrambles quickly to catch it before it hits the floor to avoid making a ruckus. Evelyn signs to her family that it'll be dark soon, so they prepare to leave when looks of horror come across their faces because Beau has the electronic space shuttle toy in his hands, which Lee carefully takes from him, removing its 2 AA batteries. He signs to his youngest son that the shuttle is too loud. As the family departs, Reagan smiles sympathetically and sneaks the toy back to Beau, who also then grabs the batteries on his way out, unknown to the rest. The Abbotts silently walk barefooted back home, on a trail of sand they've created for both direction and least foot sounds. As they come to a walking bridge, they suddenly hear the electronic sound of the space shuttle toy from behind them, only to turn and find out that Beau is the one playing with the space shuttle toy. A horrified Lee races back towards his son, while Evelyn sobs quietly in disbelief. But it's too late, as an alien creature quickly springs to the location and decimates Beau, leading to his unfortunate demise. It's day 472, and the Abbotts are home on their family farm. Reagan is resting across grains of sand in a corn plantation. She suddenly gets up to meet her mom and help her with the laundry. Lee is in the basement of the farmhouse, where he has set up an extensive surveillance system of cameras and monitors, as well as his radio and electronics, which he uses in the hope of contacting any other survivors. Marcus is in an old truck pretending to be driving when he's approached by the father to exit the vehicle and go to his mom, which he does playfully. Evelyn is pregnant, so she sets a cradle for the baby while her husband sits on top of a metallic grain silo, reminiscing about his dead son and going through his pictures. Meanwhile, Evelyn is in a cellar where she hangs a mobile she has crafted. She sets up an oxygen tank, which is connected to an infant breathing mask which sits next to a covered soundproof baby crib. The kids paint the cellar for their mum while Lee stews at his location till it gets late. Evelyn has prepared a meal and asks Reagan to tell her father that dinner is ready, so she reluctantly does. Lee cleanses his face and goes to eat. After a silent family prayer, they eat their food quietly on leaves of lettuce instead of plates to avoid noise-making. Afterwards, Reagan and Marcus are playing game of Monopoly when Marcus accidentally knocks over a lantern, which sets the rug on fire. Lee notices this and quickly jumps in to put it out, and it is at this point that terror fills their heart as they quietly wait for the consequences. They hear a sudden noise on the roof, confirming their fears but still remain silent in order not to disclose their exact location. After a while, it is apparent as it seems as though they've dodged a bullet, as Lee looks out the window and is startled, but relieved, to see a raccoon fall from the roof. Evelyn walks silently but casually to the basement, where Lee is currently working intensively on a cochlear implant processor, which will help his daughter hear without any side effects to her cognitive faculties, because the previous versions proved problematic in the past. They share a smile and set the earbuds aside and use wired earphones with a jack as they slowly dance to Neil Young's Harvest Moon, with their heads passionately pinched together in a moment of gratitude and heartwarming union. It's day 473, and Lee is pouring down more sand on their walking paths, while Evelyn is in the cellar checking her blood pressure and the baby's health with a stethoscope. Her due date is just a couple weeks away. Reagan enters the house, playful at first, but eventually becomes careful to walk only on the marked parts of the floor of the house, designated, which does not creak. She wants to go down into the basement curiously, but her dad stops her and takes her outside. He has added small amplifiers from a stereo to her new cochlear implant processor and wants to put them on Reagan, but she stops him and signs that they never work. Their conversation convey a level of emotional misunderstanding where Reagan feels she is not being seen and Lee, being disheartened, hands the new cochlear implants to her instead and starts to set out on an excursion. Emily is helping her son Marcus with studies when Lee appears, telling Marcus it's time for the excursion. He wants Marcus to come with him, but the boy is scared and doesn't want to go. But his mom comforts him, telling him that he needs this training for it will make him strong, and that his father will never let anything bad happen to him. Before they set off, Reagan appears claiming she wants to go instead, but Lee tells her to stay and take care of her mom who is pregnant and would need assistance in the house. She runs to her room so angry and frustrated of not being heard and tries on the new cochlear implant processor. After gently snapping her fingers close to her ear a couple times without hearing a sound, she is disappointed and devastated that they don't work. Reagan packs a bag which includes her cutting pliers and a wrapped object from her dresser, then leaves the farm. Lee has taken his son to the river. He proceeds to catch a fish from a trap which shakes rapidly, making little tapping sounds, and this scares Marcus, who is about to jet off when his father grabs him and comforts him by teaching him that making small sounds is okay, as long as louder sounds are nearby. Regan strolls off to a location while back at home. Evelyn is carrying a laundry bag up from the basement when it gets snagged on the stairs by a curved nail. She manages to pull it loose, causing her to fall and eventually exposing the point of the nail sticking directly up the stair. Lee and his son go next to a waterfall so they can speak freely to each other without fear of being heard or attacked by the aliens. They make some noise, after which Marcus asks his dad why he didn't let Reagan come and if he blames her for what happened to Bo, because she blames herself. During this conversation, Emily is hanging the clothes on the line to dry, after which she slowly strolls into Bo's room, which is the baby's room to be, and sobs uncontrollably, reminiscent of her loss. Reagan has arrived at the walking bridge where a makeshift memorial has been constructed for Bo. Lee and Marcus pass by a ramshackled house depleted aesthetically, when they are startled by an old man coming out of the woods, and then notice the dead body of his wife on the ground nearby. Lee implores the old man to stay silent. He lets out a primal scream so loud that Lee grabs Marcus and runs to the farthest from the man, as the man stands capitulated, as he is quickly scooped up and decimated by an alien. Back home, Evelyn is done cleaning up the house and putting it in order, and heads down the stairs when her water breaks. She sits on the stairs for a while to regain strength and heads down to the basement urgently when she impales her foot on the exposed nail that got stuck up earlier from the stair. She manages not to scream out, but drops the picture frames she was holding, which draws an alien into the house. Evelyn, with pains of both labor and injury, slowly pulls her foot off the nail, switches on the red light bulbs which run across the property and serve as a warning signal. She tries to escape, but finds one of the alien is in the house, so she searches the shelves for a mechanical kitchen timer, while still under the underlying pain of both her labor and foot injury. Lee has returned home and is horrified to see that the red lights have been switched on, so he and his son speeds off to help. Evelyn sets the kitchen timer at a location that would enable her escape when it goes off, and waits, while the alien slowly walks down the stairs into the basement, listening for any evidence of life through sounds. She patiently and painfully waits till the timer goes off and the alien attacks it as Evelyn runs upstairs. Meanwhile, when Lee and his son arrive silently, and Lee makes a sign for the word rocket to his son, then signs to him that he needs Marcus to make a very loud sound to distract the aliens, so he jets off on grains of sand to cause the distraction. Evelyn sees another alien in the front yard when escaping, so she goes upstairs into the bathroom and sinks into the tub. She's starting to give birth as the alien comes upstairs, and she waits in aggravating pain while she waits for the sounds of distractions to scream when conceiving. Same time, Lee grabs his shotgun as Marcus sprints to a designated area and lights a fuse, which sets a series of fireworks that distract the aliens, allowing Emily to scream. In order to conceive, Lee searches the house and walks up the stairs into the bathroom, where he sees an empty bathtub covered in his wife's blood. He starts to weep, believing Evelyn is dead, then discovers that she is safe and hiding in the shower with their new baby boy. Meanwhile, Marcus is walking back through the grain fields towards the house when he hears an alien approaching. He makes a run for it into the cornfield out of fear and panic, but runs straight into a tractor wheel, knocking himself unconscious. Lee carries Evelyn onto a bed in the cellar to rest and places his new son into the soundproof crib with the oxygen mask on him to induce sleep and aeration. He also uses the fire of a lighter to tell the oxygen level to ascertain breathing conduciveness. Reagan has returned home and notices the beam off Marcus's flashlight coming out from the cornfield, but cannot hear the alien coming up behind her when looking for her brother. But as the alien moves closer, Reagan's cochlear implant processor starts producing a high-pitched feedback which distresses the alien, causing it to run off. Evelyn wakes from a nightmare she was having about the death of her son Bo, but her safety is reassured when she is comforted by her husband Lee. She relays her emotions about how she thinks about Bo and regrets that she carried him along on that fateful day, but Lee tells her it wasn't her fault and that no one could have foreseen that circumstances. She tells him to try to make Reagan know she's not at fault for what happened to Bo, because Reagan thinks her father blames her for it, So Evelyn implored Lee to draw Reagan closer and make her feel loved once more. Reagan finds the beaming torchlight and is held by Marcus as she reaches out to take the torchlight, and they retreat to the top of the grain silo. Lee leaves quietly and cautiously looking for the kids as we see water rushing down into the cellar, unbeknownst to him. Marcus and Reagan set a bonfire as a sign to be located, but Reagan is pessimistic as the fire does down. Lee goes to the basement to look at the surveillance cameras in order to find their precise location, while the kids wait patiently and anxiously. Evelyn later wakes to find that the cellar has flooded. On top of this, an alien has climbed down inside the room scanning for any sound of life, and the baby is sleeping in a soundproof crib, but the lid is open. Evelyn carefully enters the pool of water and slowly picks up her baby and slinks to the back of the cellar behind the waterfall flooding the room, and the emerging alien's head rears up looming through the cellar. As Lee searches for the kids, the alien slowly approaches a scared Evelyn, sensing signs of life. All of a sudden, a hatch on the top of the silo breaks, causing Marcus to fall inside of it. As he is slowly drowning in the grains, the alien in the cellar with Evelyn is drawn out by the noise. Reagan, herself, jumps into the silo to help and successfully saves her brother by pushing the hatch towards him so he can grab hold of it. Reagan and Marcus both sit safely atop the silo door, quietly waiting to see if the alien is coming to their location. But then they hear a crash on top of the silo. The alien from the flooded cellar jumps in the silo as the kids cover themselves with the hatch door while the alien lunges at them. They seem doomed until Reagan's cochlear implant processor once again lets out a piercing feedback, forcing the alien to crash out the side of the silo and retreat in pain. Evelyn leaves the cellar with her baby and goes to the basement to watch the cameras for the location of her family. Reagan and Marcus crawl out of the silo while Lee still searches for them, looking for them till he finds them and tells them to quietly hide in the pickup, and into a pickup truck they go. Lee walks to his barnyard and tries to predict the alien's location and grabs an axe, but is quickly attacked by the alien before he could strike back. This causes Marcus to scream. Upon hearing this, the alien heads for the truck and starts ripping it open. Lee, who is badly injured, grabs the axe and makes eye contact with his daughter and signs, "I love you. I have always loved you." He then lets out a yell to sacrifice himself and save the kids. They put the truck into neutral and roll it back to the house where they reunite with their mother, hugging and crying together for the death of their father. Evelyn and the kids hear the alien approaching, so they retreat back into the house and head down to the basement. Reagan, who was never allowed down there, sees for the first time the evidence of all the work her father put into repairing and creating her cochlear implant processor. She is overwhelmed with emotion recognizing her father's love for her. The alien walks down into the basement and has them cornered while Evelyn quietly and carefully aims a shotgun at the alien in case of its attack. They slowly retreat when Reagan scans a handwritten scribbling from her dad, which reads, "What is their weakness?" Then takes a quick glance at the hearing aids on his workbench and eureka. She switches on her cochlear implant processor, creating feedback and causing the alien to shudder in pain. Reagan then amplifies the feedback by holding the processor up against a microphone, causing the alien to be discombobulated and finally collapse, but it quickly staggers back up on its feet to attack. So Evelyn aims Lee's shotgun and blows up its head to bits. Then they see on the surveillance monitors that this little commotion has seemingly brought every alien in the county to their home. So Evelyn turns to Reagan, who then turns up the speakers while Evelyn pumps the shotgun, wearing a wry grin on her face. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next episode.